Hi guys, Victoria here from Bumblebeans. Look what's on my wall! I've got my silks done! Once I started last night I couldn't stop, and frankly they do go together very, very quickly. Um, I had a huge pile, I have a huge mess over here on the cutting table, but you can't see it because it's kind of embarrassing. It's like every silk that I could find I dug out and the fabric started flying and I was going a little bit crazy. But you can see, let's see if I can do this. It's not going to show up, but I had mentioned about some of the greens that were in one of the panels here, and I did add a few little dots of it here and there. Where is it? Ooh, right there, and some right there, and a little bit over here. And it just went together very, very quickly, and I'm trying to decide if I need to add a border around it or not, or if I'll just leave it as it is. I have a really special piece of silk that a dear friend of mine gave to me. I'll show you here. This was from my friend Mary. Some of you know Mary by her blog at Mary at Lake Pulaski. She gave this to me about a year ago when we were having lunch in Minnesota. And you can see that it actually still has the tags on it from China. This was a family member of hers who, during, I think it was World War II, brought these rolls of silk back, and Mary very kindly, when she saw that I was working on these silks, so sweet and so generous, she gave me this roll of silk, and frankly, I can't get myself to cut it up. I was going to put like a border around the quilt. I don't quite have enough. I could still do something. I'm having a really hard time cutting it because it's so beautiful. I was thinking maybe putting a strip across the back. I don't know, it's just amazing. Thank you, Mary. Very cool. And the other thing that's really cool about this project is when I started doing these everything but the kitchen sink quilts, I started one in 2009 was my first one. 2009 or was it 2008? Well, actually that quilt itself took about 15 years to make because it was an accumulation of all the quilts that I had been making all these years. And when I started to make a quilt with those pieces, I was really thinking about the way I had learned to quilt. So if some of you have purchased my book, Product Placement, 15 Minutes of Play, Improvisational Quilts, you can see that it's something that I do where I'm using all my scraps and sewing it all together. And you will notice inside the book in the first few pages that I am totally inspired, and the way that I sew is completely given to me by my grandmother, Elda Wolf, who today, February 5th, would have been her 94th birthday. So happy birthday to my grandma, Elda Wolf. And she was amazing. She was a great woman. Well, this is some of her work. I have one of her little pillows here. You can see her big stitches, and the fabrics that she was using were double knits, and it's definitely using up what she had at the time. She was great. She was an arthritic invalid from the time she was 45, and her arms didn't move. Her elbows were sort of frozen, and her fingers were frozen. And she would sit in her rocking chair with a sheet, and she would sew and lay a piece of the double knits out, and she would sew it and add slowly to them like a puzzle, which is what I do. It's how I learned to sew. And I've been doing it all these years, and the great thing for me finding blogs and quilting on the internet in 2009, 2008, 2009, that there were other people doing these kinds of things, and that just made, I found my community. That was the best thing. Bonnie Hunter's been sewing crumbs for a long time. I've been doing this since I was a kid. My grandmother's been doing this. It's something that people have been doing for hundreds of years. And I'm just so thrilled that I was able to learn that skill from my grandmother, and that is the way I learned to sew. I didn't learn to sew by using templates or patterns. It's basically finding pieces and putting them together. My grandmother and we both have a huge desire and love for putting puzzles together. I've always got a big jigsaw puzzle going on, and these quilts are kind of like that, and to me they're a story. They're great fun. So if you get a chance, you can go on my website. You can still order signed copies of my book. And, inside it, you'll see more pictures of my grandmother's amazing, beautiful quilts. And there's a nice silly picture of myself. Okay, it's 1987. All right, yeah, you see that? Big hair. Yeah, that's me. I think I've even got blue eyeshadow on. It's super scary. Anyway, and you'll learn a little bit about why and how I work, and that it's purely based on what my grandmother did. So happy birthday to my grandmother. She would be having a big old chuckle right now if she'd see, what I'm doing, and you know what? Love her. That's all I know. Have a good day, guys. Bye.